I'm Marlon David, your host, and as per usual, it's indeed a pleasure to be here with you yet again in your company, in your presence, in your homes, your living rooms, taking in you, your friends and your relatives, just being a part of the Minority Report family as we continue to work tirelessly at providing you with information, providing you with edification, providing you with education, providing you with opportunities as well to dialogue, to exchange your ideas, to exchange your comments and so on, and just being a part of something that has definitely panned itself out to be a progressive initiative. I will always recall when we had just started and there was so much going on at the time, and you know, persons would always reach out bit by bit and would encourage us to, you know, to keep the faith, to keep steering the ship, keep moving forward. And here we are, almost 3 years later. Yep, almost 3 years later, being the only consistent current affairs program on our television and social media network. And indeed, it's a privilege and it's a pleasure to have been serving you, the general public, for this length of time, and really continuing to be consistent in providing you with that which we have always promised. I remember getting into at the office of the minority leader, and one thing the minority leader always indicated is that he would always stand for what is right, he would always stand for what is fair, and whatever benefits Tobago, that is the side that he would stand on. And so words echoed as well by the Minority Councillor on many occasions, and we have seen that consistently take place. We've seen it consistently happen where, to date, everything that has been good for Tobago has been supported. Everything that we felt was not in the best interest of the people of this community, we would have spoken out against, not just for the sake of condemnation or to oppose, but also providing valid solutions and recommendations. Something that the minority leader always says is that the door for consultation is always open. And that has been seen time and time again in efforts to sit even with this administration and the Chief Secretary to discuss things when we have situations that have become unbearable, so to speak. So I want to say thank you for sticking with us. I want to say thank you for joining us yet another evening. And today is going to be no different. Our programs over the last couple of weeks have been very informative because there are certain things that we want to have in the grasp of the public. Right now the house is on break a bit, and so we're taking the opportunity to revisit some conversations and certain initiatives that we may not have had the time to ventilate effectively in the time that they would have occurred. One such thing is the budget presentation, and tonight is also going to be a bit touching on that, because we think that it's important for the members of the general public to understand what takes place within the governance framework of the island. And so it is important that we always go back and we look and we listen so that there is a clarity in terms of the process that carries us through governance. And so I really want to say thank you for being with us, for making us the #1 viewed program on social media networks across Tobago. And if you're viewing us right now, you can always encourage someone to take in the program on the Tobago Updates website, or you can choose to log into the Tobago Updates YouTube page. However, one of the most frequently viewed platforms is the Facebook page, and again, many persons choose to use that page to engage with us via comments, or sometimes not even come into the program, but just to pull it up and sit and take a look at what is being discussed. Always beneficial topics. And, you know, today we want to really say thank you to the management and staff of the Tobago Updates Network team here They continue to work tirelessly in terms of the efforts to ensure that we continue to provide you with a quality product that is indeed a cut above the rest. Our programming is always almost 100% on point with respect to our quality of delivery and the quality of the images and so on that we have here, and that is kudos to the team that makes it all happen, actually working non-stop behind the scenes even now as we speak. But this evening I want, as we head a bit into the program, to just bring us to a place of greater awareness. One of the most sustained conversations that we've seen and we've been hearing for the past 6-7 months is that conversation of escalating crime and criminal activity. And I want us to, even though we would have touched a bit a couple of weeks back, I can put you on notice that we're going to be having a couple of guests coming in over the next 2 weeks who are going to sit with us and bring greater clarity to some of the measures that we're going to be looking at, or the government is looking at, in terms of employing to curb the scourge that we have now come to experience a wave of. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some guests coming in and bringing some clarity, bringing some quote-unquote comfort to the minds of our citizens, so that there's greater understanding in terms of what our role even must be in the fight against crime. But for those of us who are presently, in the midst of it, I want to encourage us that we practice our own personal safety. Some basic tips, you're getting to your car at night, always scan your area, make sure that the persons that are around, that you observe them intently. You're getting to your door, always make sure you have your car keys in your hand. It aids in getting you into your vehicle quickly. When you get into your vehicle, always keep a vigil. Look to your left, look to your right. Ensure that there's no one hustling or walking quickly in the direction of your vehicle. Another thing, as you enter your vehicle and you take your seat, always lock your doors. These little things, you will not be surprised how far it goes in terms of saving lives. One of the key elements of prevention is simple vigilance. Just being more aware of your environment, being more aware of your surroundings, listening for persons who would call out to you, but when you look at them, you know that you're not familiar with the individual, and not stopping in an instance like that, not stopping or allowing persons to cause you to stop in an area that is darker than others, that is not well lit. These little personal safety tips are great. Going to the ATM at the bank, always make sure that you scan your area first. Even those of you who are taxi drivers, be very careful, be vigilant in terms of the persons that you pick up. Some persons definitely not going to take an entire trip with all men. And these are your personal preferences, but I want to encourage you to engage in more vigilance, or greater vigilance. For those parents out there who, this is vacation time, and we know that many children are at home. A lot of camps are winding up or have wound up. So now, especially in the month of August, is the time that children are basically at home under the guidance of their parents or guardians, or even in some cases, older siblings. We want you to be ever watchful and ever vigilant in terms of allowing children to walk out the streets on their own, sending them to the neighborhood shops. Whilst, yes, these may have been activities that 20, 30, 40 years ago, you wouldn't have thought twice about allowing a child just to walk out the road or go down to the parlor with cash. The times that we are now experiencing now has us in a place where we need to rethink the way that we approach these things. And so let us always provide that level of supervision to our children. Let us be vigilant. Let us always be able to identify where they are, what they are doing, and who, especially who they are with. And these simple things, these simple acts of awareness, simple acts of vigilance, simple acts of being keen observers of our environment can all go a long way in causing us to avert and avoid personal harm to ourselves, to our relatives or family members, and even our friends who may also be out with us or even around us. So even in the time of getting out there, going to different events and so on, let us be mindful of these little tips, that as we leave an event, always look back, make sure that you're not being followed, make sure that you know the persons who you're in the group with. Be vigilant in terms of people's hands, make eye contact with persons, and these simple things help you to be able to read or assess an individual's intentions. And once you see anything, and this, I know many times we are driving and we don't pay much attention, but once you do feel or you do determine that you're being followed even by individuals, always try to get to the nearest police station. Do not stop along the way. Do not try to figure it out on your own. Get yourself to the nearest police station. Even if you're passing a fire station, you can just pull aside there. Any area that's crowded and that you have a number of persons who as well may be a deterrent for a crime taking place, pull into that area and you sit in your vehicle until the what you perceive to be a suspicious activity that has been averted or it has passed. So I want to encourage us this evening to be very vigilant. Those of us in communities, let us be watchful to strangers entering the community, asking questions about individuals within the community. And, you know, with all of us doing our part and playing our role in this whole situation that we're experiencing, I believe that we can see gradual turnaround and gradual greater awareness. At the end of the day, folks, it begins with each and every one of us. If you see something that is wrong, then either address that situation or call it in, make a report. Anonymous, there are a number of platforms that are available. Make that report. Because what we avert today, we avert tomorrow and next week and for the rest of this year. So let's all be a part of the solution and not just a part of the problem. And by a part of the problem, I mean, if we remain silent and we do nothing, then we become avid assistants of evil being perpetrated and prevailing in our communities and in our society. So with that, I want to say welcome again this evening. You know, a number of things, congratulations that we want to touch on. We want to take the opportunity to recognize our Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, who is presently in Grenada at the 47th CARICOM Heads of Government Conference, representing us well, as has been the case on many occasions, being there and really being a pillar, a mentor to many of our Caribbean leaders, engaging in conversations and persons reaching out to him. There we see the outgoing chairman, as well as Roosevelt Skerry, the Prime Minister of Dominica, along with Dr. Rowley, really getting there, coming together and making an impact in the Caribbean region and the CARICOM region on a whole. So congratulations, Dr. Rowley, continuing to serve us extremely well in the CARICOM Heads of Government Conference or Heads of Government meetings. We want to say on the heels of that little discussion on crime and awareness, I want to say congratulations to the Honourable Member of Parliament, Mr. Keith Scotland, SC. And I have to remember now to always add that Mr. Scotland would have been with us on the program a couple weeks ago bringing a wealth of knowledge with respect to explaining and defining the constitutional reform bill and the process that we are now engaging in, and now recently being minted as the minister in the Ministry of National Security, getting into that position and being placed there to supplement and add valuable support to the present Minister of National Security, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hinds. And we do in fact congratulate Mr. Scotland, and we know that the efforts that would come, the value that he would bring to the table, that we would indeed see the benefits of that value in the coming months as he unfolds his portfolio. Congratulations going out as well to Minister Stuart Young, who has been appointed to act as Prime Minister in the absence of Dr. Rowley, who is at the CARICOM conference. Minister Young again continuing to show his versatility in serving in various capacities, presently as Minister of Energy, prior as Minister of National Security. We saw him a minister in the ministry, in the office of the Prime Minister, and really shifting and adjusting as the call is made upon him to act as Prime Minister. Congratulations on that appointment, and I mean for a few days, but it speaks volumes in terms of the work ethic of this gentleman. So congratulations going out there to Minister Stuart Young, acting Prime Minister. And shifting to Tobago, we have congratulations and I mean recognition going out to Minister Shamfa Kojo, our Member of Parliament for Tobago West, who is presently in France, out there for the sports ministers meeting in Paris. And it's being held in conjunction with the Olympic Games. And she had the opportunity to present at this meeting, where the theme is building inclusive and resilient societies through sport. Building inclusive and resilient societies through sport. Minister Kojo doing us proud, standing out there amidst all the world leaders in terms of sports, and really delivering a sterling presentation that is indeed going to bear fruit. And I know many persons, their takeaway from the presentation, they're going to be carrying a lot back to their respective zones. And we continue to look forward as she does those things, as she speaks and she presents, that we're going to also see and be able to reap those benefits right here in Trinidad and Tobago as the government continues to invest in its policy on sport development in conjunction with youth development. So we're going to shift a bit, folks, to a couple drives, and he may not be here right now, but my usual co-host, Senator Lawrence Hislop, he's going to be hosting, I think it's his second back to school drive. And I'll ask the director just to pull it up there, the Sunday, the 1st of September. And it's going to be hosted between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. We're going to be at two locations for this drive. One is Gems Car Park at Mason Hall. And the second location on the same day is the Police Youth Club in the beautiful, picturesque community of Roxborough. You know, for those who would have been able to benefit from this drive last year when he did it, you all can definitely say that it was a tremendous success. Many persons would have benefited, relatives would have brought out their children, families, parents, brothers, sisters, brought out their siblings, and they would have all benefited from this initiative. We have a short video. I'll ask the director to restart it, and let's get the audio running for the benefit of our viewers.
We can't wait to see you there. Friends, it's here again. Senator Lawrence Hislop's annual Back to School Drive, September 1st, 2024, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. 2 locations, Gems Car Park, Mason Hall, and Police Youth Club, Roxborough. Come out, you don't want to miss it. We can't wait to see you there.
Yes, so folks, we want to be able to support both these initiatives, both in Mason Hall, Gems Car Park, and at the Roxborough Police Youth Club. This event is definitely going to be one that you do not want to miss. We're asking you to call to WhatsApp the numbers. That's 305. I'll ask the director to pull it up. That's 305-3215 or 704-6016. 704-6016. Call or WhatsApp, the second number is to call or WhatsApp. The 305 number is to WhatsApp only. And get your information in, get your name registered, the name of your son, your child, your daughter, as the case may be. Free haircuts. If you notice, there's a barcode to the bottom left. If you are interested in having your child receive a free haircut, a free back-to-school haircut, you can scan the barcode and it will give you the opportunity to register the child's name. And I think they take the age of the child as well. Basic information, and you can bring out your child on that day and have them well prepared as they are getting ready to go back out to school on the Monday. So Sunday, the 1st of September 2024, between the hours of 11 a.m. and 4 p.m., Senator Lawrence Hislop's annual Back to School Drive. And our final, and you know, they always say you save the best for last. I don't want to go in that direction, but definitely this is something big, and that's why I left it for this part of the program. It's back again, the Darrell Spring WIM District Sports and Family Day. I'll ask the director to cue up the audio first, the audio ad, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. This is coming up this Thursday on Emancipation Day. Let's have the audio ad, please.
Get ready for a day of fun and excitement. It's the Darrell Spring WIM District Sports and Family Day, Emancipation Day, Jubilee Park, Sanctuary, Scarborough, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Come enjoy all fours, cricket, football, netball, fun zone, and novelty games. Lots of prizes to be won. So bring your friends, your family for a day filled with sports, games, and endless fun. Entry is absolutely free. For vending and team registration, call 232-7195 or 351-9544. Those numbers again, 232-7195 or 351-9544. Don't miss out on this amazing event. See you there. It's a Darrell Spring WIM District Sports and Family Day.
So let's leave the flyer up a bit. So folks, we are hosting yet again. This is the third year of the Darrell Spring WIM Sports and Family Day. And let me say, I know we have some pictures from last year, so I'll ask the director if he can also run those. But this year the event is going to be held at Jubilee Park, once again in Sangsters Hill. And folks, we are really inviting you to come out. It is a day of fun. It is a day where children, they go all out in participating in the activities. We have competitions. We have the netball competition. We have the football competition. We have cricket competition. Bring out your dads, bring out your moms, bring out your grandparents. There's something for everyone on this day. We see a very good friend there, Mr. Roberts, giving a gift out to, I think, probably the youngest attendee at the Sports and Family Day there. I mean, it's definitely going to be an event that you do not want to miss. A number of participants as well who would have participated in various aspects of the day and winning prizes and stuff. All their checks and vouchers being handed over. The minority leader who participated in almost every event on the day, really going the distance there. There we see him as part of the netballers, taking a little rest. But folks, I mean, all are invited. It's good. I mean, last year we had face painting. We have a number of additional activities this year. They're going to be vendors on site. So you don't have to walk with lunch. You don't have to walk with a cooler. You don't have to walk with anything to eat, basically. Everything is going to be provided at the venue at a very reasonable cost to you, the patrons. But most importantly, the idea is to come out and let's really have a time where we spend that family quality time with each other. Bring out the children, bring out the parents, bring out the grandparents. There are going to be tents as well. There's some seating and so on. So all can be facilitated. If you can't move around a bit, you have a grandparent, you have a friend who may even be in a wheelchair, bring them out. We're going to have them set up nicely in an area, shaded, and they can view all the activities from a very good vantage point. So I want to encourage you. In terms of prizes, we are going to be seeing first and second prizes in the 3 categories: cricket, netball, and football. First prize being $3,500 and the second prize being $1,500 to all teams who come in either in first place or second place in any of the sporting disciplines. Right now, I know that we still have some teams catching a late registration. If you are still interested, you can feel free to call 232-7395 or 351-9544 and call the numbers, get your teams registered. It's definitely going to be a competitive day. Last year we had some very serious, heavy competition where guys were literally competing as if they were participating in the Olympic Games, and a very strong competitive spirit. And at the end of it all, as much as there was heavy competition, what came out mostly is the fact that there was great camaraderie amongst competitors in all the areas, the cricket, the football, the netball, and we definitely had a ball of a time. Persons were able to see, to have their children benefit from bouncy castles and these. Trust me, if you know anyone who would have been there in the previous years, they will say to you, it is not an event that you want to miss. So I'm encouraging each and every one of you to come out to the event. Bring your kids, bring your relatives. Let's support this growing initiative. A number of persons also on board in terms of lending assistance and sponsoring and so on. But again, Blossom Can Foundation being the key element, and the Darrell Spring WIM District Committee both coming together and in collaboration with the Assemblyman to really host this event, momentous event. And let's come out on Thursday morning. Let's get the time right. Thursday is Emancipation Day. It's the day that we celebrate the emancipation of slaves and slavery. And we're asking you to come and be free to participate in all activities. Entry to the event is totally free. Favorite 4-letter word. You cannot miss this event. Get your families together. Plan deliberately. Get there for 10 a.m. And let's start the day off with prayer as we commit all things into God's hand. And we're going to have a ball of a time. As I'm on that, I want to say good evening to the minority leader, Assemblyman Kelvon Morris, who is also locked on looking at the program, and also the minority councillor, Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit, as you guys continue to do the work, put in the time, put in the hours to ensure that the mandate is given to the minority, not just by the people who voted for the People's National Movement, but all of Tobago, that you represent their voices well in and out of the Assembly legislature. So good evening, guys. Also shouting out Senator Lawrence Hislop, who is always a wealth of support for us here on the program and at the Office of the Minority Report, always collaborating on events and so on. You guys really continue to inspire persons here in Tobago to stand up for justice and stand up for that which is always right and beneficial for the people of this island. Folks, we're going to take a little break, and when we get back, I'm going to introduce a segment, and we go into some information parts of this evening's program, giving us the opportunity to revisit some conversations as we prepare. As we know, we came out of budget season in Tobago, but we're also getting ready to go into national budget. And so it's important for us to understand the dynamics of what has been happening here in Tobago and what was presented. So we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, we're going to go right into that segment. So stay locked on, and share the live. We'll be right back.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules, or if you are having a cooking day off.
Go in, you have to stop it, you have to stop it.
Welcome to my kitchen, guys.
You have to stop it again.
That's the intro. Let's do it one more time, right?
Are you ready to optimize your wedding business for engagement season and book more clients? Refine is the place to be. Refine, the Wedding Business Summit. Saturday, 14th September 2024 from 9 a.m. Pigeon Point Heritage Park, Tobago. This premier event is designed specifically for Caribbean wedding industry professionals. Gain expert insights, practical knowledge, and valuable connections that can help you thrive in the destination wedding market. Register now at refinesummit.com. It is time to refine. Refine, the Wedding Business Summit. Get insider info, advice, and insights from local, regional, and international players in the destination wedding market. Refine, the Wedding Business Summit. Saturday, 14th September 2024, Pigeon Point Heritage Park, Tobago. It's time to refine.
Get ready for the I Choose Sport Summer of Sport, and we're bringing the action to Tobago on Saturday, August 3rd. Win great cash prizes in our football tournament and show off your track and field skills. Have fun with our traditional and novelty games, bouncy castles, giveaways, and so much more. Meet some of our Tobago sporting legends up close. It all happens at the Montgomery Recreation Grounds from 10 a.m. on Saturday, August 3rd. See you there.
Said I'm falling, I'm falling. As I lay in my bed with my head to the ceiling. Say I'm drowning alone and I'm lost in my feelings. Somebody send me a sign, cause you know that I need it. Don't even come back to me, cause you know you're my healing. I said this okay is my therapy, my therapy. It take away all of my anxiety, my remedy. I tell you that we all need love. Jump up and show me love, wind up and show me love. Together say we
Welcome to the Magdalena Grand Beach and Golf Resort, where we will be hosting the very first annual CM Golf Academy Charity Golf Tournament. Some of the proceeds from this tournament will be going to my childhood school, the Montgomery Government School, and our neighboring school, the Boko Government School, where we will be assisting students in various needs. We'll be having players from all over the globe, friends from Canada, Barbados, and also here in Tobago and from Trinidad, and few friends from America as well. So you can come here in the land of sea, sun, and sun, and come and have some fun with us here in Plantation.
Oh yeah! I said I can't wait for Tobago in October.
Embark on an adventure to the greatest little island on the planet. Tobago invites you to ritual, revelry, and release.
Whining in the Bago sun, having Bago fun, in Bago drinking rum. We go jump up and carry on.
From October 25th to the 27th, 2024, experience the energetic vibe, the vibrant colors, and the unforgettable spirit of the Tobago Carnival.
Down here in Tobago.
Whether you're chipping down the road or marveling at the beauty and creativity of our artisans, Tobago Carnival is an adventure.
I said I wait and I wait and I wait and I wait for Carnival to come. So I call all my friends, making my plans for the Tobago Carnival fun.
Join us for ritual, revelry, and release. Tobago Carnival 2024, where every moment is memorable.
I said I can't wait for Tobago in October.
So, folks, we are back. This evening, we've been looking at quite a bit of initiatives that are coming up. So, as we shift gears into our final segment of the program this evening, again, as we always say, one of the functions of the Minority Report is also to bring forth certain levels of education on various issues, matters affecting Tobago. And so oftentimes we want to take the opportunity just to sit back a bit and to really scrutinize and to pay attention to some of what is taking place. And this evening is no different. We would have heard last week from the presentation of the minority leader, which was the budget debate presentation, where he would have challenged certain things and identified certain areas within the budget that was the budget statement that was presented by the chief secretary, and some very interesting points made there. And again, it's important for you, the general public, to understand what are some of the things that are said, and for us to look at the relevance and even the realistic nature of what is said. This evening, we are going to be hearing from the minority councillor in terms of her presentation, the way that she would have identified and dealt with certain areas within the budget statement and asked the necessary questions, identify certain challenges. And all this is so that we can all have a greater appreciation for the process that it takes to really be able to present that particular statement and determine on our own whether or not when it is presented, even by this administration, by the former Secretary of Finance, if it is indeed a realistic ask based on what is transpiring our current state. It's absolutely no secret that Tobago is basically at an economic standstill. And everywhere you go, if you traverse throughout the island, you are hearing the one cry that persons are feeling the pain of so much that has been taken away from them, so much of the privilege, so much of the comforts that may have been in place before. Things like food security, those that cater for the social services in terms of food cards and so on, the different grants. Many of these programs have either been shut down or have become very, very limited and exclusive to only a few persons. And we've seen even a total dismantling of the social support network and safety net that was previously set up. And so it's important for us to understand what is happening, what are the challenges that we're seeing in terms of our financial position as well. And we are going to have one of our next episodes as well, an episode where we literally look at the financial crisis that we are in presently in Tobago and break down what has been received so far, the billions of dollars, and what has been spent, presumably, as well as the fact that there is almost nothing to show for the billions of dollars that have been received or allocated to the Tobago House of Assembly by the central government. So this evening I want us to really take in Minority Councillor's presentation, and many of the aspects of it will be really thought-provoking, and so I encourage us to listen, and so that at the end of it we can be much more informed and edified. Mr. Director, could we head right into that presentation, please?
Homes and provide houses to the people of Tobago. The member took quite a long time minding the business of the People's National Movement, minding the business of the central government, minding everybody else's business instead of his business. So I was a bit disappointed. And the simple fact of the matter is that, Madam Presiding Officer, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, my apologies, the minority leader went to great pains to explain the condition in which the economy was, which is in a growth state prior to this administration taking office, and what they have since done. And the simple fact of the matter is that this administration...
Member, could you pause to allow the presiding officer to take the chair?
Members be seated. Member, continue. Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. And as I was saying, the simple fact of the matter is that this administration inherited an economy that was on the upswing after COVID, and the minority would have explained an economy with growth of 4.2%. And from day one, they have, with reckless and gay abandon, been emasculating the Tobago economy. We are in successive declines, Madam Economy, and today the economy is much weaker than it was in 2021. And as I evaluate the performance of this administration, I will begin by reflecting on the Chief Secretary's approach to this year's budget and the impact of some of his disastrous actions on the people of Tobago. 2.5 years and approximately $7 billion in allocation. What do we have to show for that, Madam Presiding Officer? Destruction of the quarry. Now we're seeing trucks lined up waiting something that has been in the past has now come back to haunt us. Destruction of the quarry, destruction of the construction sector, destruction of the agricultural sector. If we look at TADCO, destruction of TADCO, we have farmers protesting in front of the TADCO organization. Destruction of the tourism and cultural art form in Tobago, and there's only destruction taking place, Madam Presiding Officer. And as we speak to tourism and the cultural art form, I want to take a look into the tourism sector. And Madam Presiding Officer, as I listen to the now former Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy, who spoke about his administration's vision for tourism and the orange sector in Tobago, I was extremely baffled and disappointed. And I know many Tobagonians would also echo similar sentiments, that there is no vision for the tourism sector in Tobago. Can you imagine, Madam Presiding Officer, that this administration, after 2.5 years, cannot even produce, Madam Presiding Officer, more than 2 pages of plans for the tourism sector, Madam Presiding Officer? Where is the roadmap? Where is the framework? Nothing, Madam Presiding Officer. And the strategic plan that was promised very early in the Secretary's term, Madam Presiding Officer, and again early in the Secretary's term, and I will get to that point in great detail, the Secretary spoke about bringing 100,000 tourists. We have yet to see that, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, the Secretary would have spoken in some detail about the tourist arrivals. And the Secretary boasts about, in particular, Tobago cruise passenger arrivals. And Madam Presiding Officer, yes, I agree that there was some growth in that area. Madam Presiding Officer, what the Secretary failed to point out to the people of Tobago is that if you are moving from 0 to 1, the percentage increase obviously is 100. And Madam Presiding Officer, if we are coming from a close in the sector coming out of COVID, there were no arrivals in 2001, and we started to reopen in 2002. So the cruise ship arrivals, which is normally from November to April, in 2022, Madam Presiding Officer, in January, there were no arrivals. In February, there were no arrivals because the borders were closed. In March, there were no arrivals. In April, there are no arrivals. So if you are comparing, Madam Presiding Officer, so the total November is where we started to see arrivals coming to the destination, and December. So in a period where out of 6 months, you had 4 months with no cruise ship because we were now reopening and the place was closed. Madam Presiding Officer, how you could come here and claim over 100 and without sharing the real data with the people? If you are moving from 0 to any number, the percentage increases obviously 100% and more. And Madam Presiding Officer, what I would have liked is for the Secretary to really come and provide the data and the information. And the base period that the Secretary should really be looking at is 2019, pre-COVID arrivals. And if you want to compare and speak to the fact of improvement, Madam Presiding Officer, then the base...
Councillor Benoit, she's standing on a point of order. Please give way. Yes, Councillor Boris.
Madam Presiding Officer, I'd like to take the opportunity to correct the rule that that's beyond that, Councillor.
Not on a point of order, Councillor, on a point of clarification.
Clarification, sorry, I would like to correct the information that the Councillor is explaining at this point. I did indicate in the statistics that I provided the 2019 season, which is 18 to 19 arrivals for cruise ship. I also indicated seasons 22 into 23 and 23 into this year. Yes?
Continue, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, the Secretary boasted about increases 2022 to 2023 of over 100 and something. And I am pointing out that in January there were no cruise ship arrivals here. So if you move from 0 to 13,000 2023, then obviously it will be greater than 100%. And that's the point I am making, Madam Presiding Officer.
Continue.
So, Madam Presiding Officer, all I'm saying is be upfront with the people about the information and share the entire information. Madam Presiding Officer, and yes, we are happy to report increased tourist arrivals in relation to cruise ships to our destination. But Madam Presiding Officer, what I also want to look at is an article, a Guardian article dated the 20th of April 2024. And the arrivals, I am hoping that sometime in the near future, our efforts could rebound to increase spending by those persons who would have visited our shores via the cruise ship. And Madam Presiding Officer, the article quotes the Tourism Trinidad visitor surveys, and the average visitor spend that was estimated, and this is for the period 2023-2024, was US $431 per person, equating to US $3,356,193. And this is equivalent to TT over $22 million. According to the survey conducted by a local agency, the average spend on tours per person was a further US $25. So with 21,094 persons disembarking from organized tours, this equated to $526,225 US and over 3.578 million TT dollars. The article goes on, as it pertains to Tobago, the Tobago Tourism Agency estimated spend per passenger was $26 US per person, totaling US $2.58 million, and converted into TT 17.596 million for the season. So, Madam Presiding Officer, what we would like to see from all the initiatives over time of the Tobago Tourism Agency and the tourism sector is that if we could at least marginally increase, because that is the real benefit to the island of Tobago. When visitors come and they spend, we receive that benefit. So if all that is being done could increase the visitor spend, and it could be marginally when compared to Tobago, when compared to Trinidad, sorry, Madam Presiding Officer. So, if we go back to 2017, sorry, Madam Presiding Officer, and even before that, when the PNM administration was in office, there was a clear vision for the tourism sector. And it was evident with the alignment of culture with tourism, and it was also clear that the product offering of the island needed to be clearly defined, and culture was being used as a vehicle to aid in boosting visitor traffic and interest to the destination. The establishment of the Tobago Tourism Agency was to position Tobago in a particular way when compared to our Caribbean neighbors, which is why we branded ourselves as untouched, unspoilt, and undiscovered Tobago beyond ordinary. Madam Presiding Officer, these fundamental and important changes ensure that Tobago was well featured in our key source markets, which resulted in the beautiful island winning numerous international tourism awards, some of which this administration has been celebrating today, arising out of that vision. Pre-COVID, it was evident that growth was in the sector. We saw Sunwing providing direct airlift from Canada. There was Virgin Atlantic, Condor, and British Airways out of the European market. And this was as a result of strategic visioning. Madam Presiding Officer, the people of Tobago must take note that this administration has invested millions in overseas travel, which may account to the only investment this island has seen, unfortunately paid by the taxpayer under the disguise of marketing Tobago or seeking out investors for the island. To date, in this budget presentation, there is not one tourism or cultural investment that this administration can really meaningfully speak or boast about. Madam Presiding Officer, the Secretary spoke about investment in soca artists, but Madam Presiding Officer, this is something that would have occurred in the past under the PNM administration. There were soca competitions, competition for February Carnival, competitions for heritage. So Madam Presiding Officer, this is nothing new. It is very clear that this administration, from the onset, understood the value of pairing culture with tourism, and as such, the division remained tourism and culture, and they appreciated the PNM's vision for the sector. However, as much as they embraced it, they have single-handedly destroyed by leaving our cultural festivities in shambles. Our cultural festivals, Madam Presiding Officer, is currently in shambles. The budget presentation spoke to this administration focusing, and I quote, improvement of tourism infrastructure, product enhancement, airlift and human resource development, and research capacity. So in one breath, they are focusing on human resource development, but the established supporting companies such as the Tobago Tourism Agency, TPAC, and the Tobago Festivals Commission, the core companies that drive the sector, are absent from leadership and direction. And most of the companies, and I say that in the context that most of the companies are without a substantive CEO, Madam Presiding Officer. In some instances, some of them may be without boards. And I would have seen today, Madam Presiding Officer, that a release came from the division where a new board was appointed to the tourism TTAL, Tobago Tourism Agency, and we wish them all the best. So, Madam Presiding Officer, with the absence of substantive CEOs and leadership, it is clear that we're not serious about the plans to develop the sector when our basic human resource capabilities are being dismantled. Madam Presiding Officer, we have seen an exodus, a high attrition of staff turnover within the organizations under the tourism division. Madam Presiding Officer, if you look at the festivals, what have they done? It appears as if they have systematically and deliberately attempted to destroy the National Carnival in February. Madam Presiding Officer, the once renowned jazz festival, after being rebranded by this administration, the return in 2023 has not returned in 2024. The Tobago Heritage Festival, one of the island's highly anticipated cultural festivals on the calendar, which is in its 37th edition, a festival that has been around for over 3 decades, is currently in ICU holding on for its dear life. It is noteworthy to mention that the villages that drew the largest crowds to the event, like the Salaka Feast in the cultural village of Pembroke and Lekito, folktales and superstitions would have had visitors coming from overseas, and our neighboring Trinidad has been wiped off the heritage calendar for 2024. And Madam Presiding Officer, I don't know what the reasons were for these villages not participating, but it is quite disappointing. And I don't know if it's because members from the Pembroke folk performers may have a song for not receiving payment timely. Madam Presiding Officer, I don't know what was the reason, but it's very disappointing not to see these signature villages appearing on the 2024 Heritage Calendar. So, Madam Presiding Officer, the budget statement spoke a lot of nothing, inclusive of continuing the strategy to attract airlift to the destination. And the question is, what has been the strategy over the last 2.5 years? As a matter of fact, Virgin was lost with no replacement to date. The arrival numbers have only increased marginally. The euphoria of the PDP winning the election, Madam Presiding Officer, I spoke to that earlier, where we are still awaiting the over 100,000 plus arrivals from the Secretary of Finance, the Secretary of Tourism that she promised. And Madam Presiding Officer, the Secretary of Finance in his statement spoke about airlifts coming, and he would have mentioned as soon as July. I don't know if it's July this year or July next year. But the Secretary in her presentation spoke at the end of the calendar year. Madam Presiding Officer, we welcome new airlift to the destination, but we do hope that the necessary approvals are in train or have been received to ensure that the airlift comes to the nation, to Tobago. And Madam Presiding Officer, we didn't hear anything. We will be having a new airport. There's the airport expansion, and not one word as to how the policy of this administration in relation to tourism, what policy is put in place to capitalize on the airport expansion when it is opened. And we were hoping, Madam Presiding Officer, that we would hear a little bit more about the plans in that regard. So, Madam Presiding Officer, members, it is clear that there's a lack of foresight and inability to rebuild the tourism sector. If we looked at our Caribbean islands in St. Vincent, Grenada, Barbados, their tourism sectors are on the rebound. And Madam Presiding Officer, we are hoping that they could settle down and put some plans in place, and we eagerly await the strategic plan that was promised 2.5 years ago in relation to the rebuilding of the tourism sector. Madam Presiding Officer, I want to turn my attention to housing. And in 2023, the Chief Secretary would have outlined, and as he called it, an ambitious housing program to provide 1,000 fully serviced housing lots in the first term, which was 250 units per fiscal year. In the budget statement of 2024, another unrealistic housing program of more than 500 housing units and 800 service lots were mentioned. The Secretary for Settlements was even mandated in that statement to supply 20 low-cost housing units before the end of fiscal 2023. There are no reports in the statement, there are no reports from the Secretary about the completion of those 20 homes. Yet, in this statement, Madam Presiding Officer, the proposal is to start the construction of 54 housing solutions in Riseland Development, 447 housing units at Shervan, and 140 housing units at Adventure. This bringing the total number of houses in the 2025 budget statement to 641 houses. Madam Presiding Officer, due to this administration's inability to deliver on its promised housing mandate, they have changed their language. So in the first two budgets, they spoke about completing houses and completing homes. But the wording in this statement has shifted to start or commence. So we're no longer able to complete. So we moved the language to start. So just imagine the Secretary also promised to build, and this is the Secretary of Settlements, promised to build a house, one singular, uno, in Bleming in 20 days. Madam Presiding Officer, we are still awaiting the report on that. I think 20 days has come and gone several times, months now. Madam Presiding Officer, he boasts about traveling to Jamaica and St. Vincent and meeting with prime ministers and presidents. But Madam Presiding Officer, the houses that were promised still remain unfinished and undelivered. And that is delivery.
Member, you have 3 minutes of speaking time.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. Madam Presiding Officer, I recognize that this is the third consecutive budget that the member, the Chief Secretary, former Secretary of Finance, would have read, and he did not report to the people on the expenditure for the previous years. How did he spend? So we're calling for more money, more money, more money. But report to the people of Tobago how you spent the money. So Madam Presiding Officer, I just want to share with you in 2023, and this is being quoted from the statements laid in the House. So as at August 2023, the sum of 1.8 billion rounded was received for recurrent, and 366 million was received for development program under the central government. Madam Presiding Officer, in Tobago, we would have collected, as at the end of August 2023, $185 million on behalf of the Consolidated Fund, bringing total receipts at the end of August 2023 to $2.002 billion. Madam Presiding Officer, there are a number of items of expenditure for that fiscal 23 that stood out, but because of time, I want to point out one in particular. Madam Presiding Officer, if you look at the rent and lease vehicles and equipment, in 2021, that expenditure was $13 million. In 2022, it increased by $5 million to 18.81. And by 2023, that figure for rent and lease on vehicles and equipment ballooned to $39.346 billion, Madam President. Dollars. And the Division of Infrastructure, it must be noted that the Division of Infrastructure would have accounted for the majority of the expenditure under rent and lease. So in 2021, under the Division of Infrastructure, rent and lease was $10.1 million. In 2022, it was $12.2 million. And Madam Presiding Officer, in 2023, it was a whopping $35.495 million. And Madam Presiding Officer, thank you. I will wrap up, and I hope that the Chief Secretary, in his wrap-up, could tell us why the rent and lease and all the other things would have ballooned, Madam Presiding Officer.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr, you may now join this debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Presiding Officer. Let me try to see if I can wake everybody back up, because it's
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tapago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tapago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tapago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tapago's at your service.
So folks, we are back, and we heard there from the minority councillor, Mrs. Petal Daniel Benoit, really dealing with a number of issues, asking the questions that needed to be asked, presenting certain avenues for further expansion or building out of some of the ideas, but more so bringing a greater balance to what many may have considered to be a pie in the sky or an airy type budget statement that would have been laid. A number of areas in terms of sectors within the Tobago House of Assembly not seeming to have a clear path for development, nor a clear vision for the work, the operations of the divisions and so on. One of the things that also stood out strongly is the clear lack of policy by this administration. One of the major role of the Assemblyman, the Executive Council, is that of policy development. And what we've heard over the past 2.5 years, a number of motions coming to the House and very little or absolutely no implementation. And so from a place of policy development, we've definitely seen abject failure by this administration, and then failing to operationalize a lot that they would have even met in train. A number of projects as well being left by the wayside. Funding seems to be an issue, and we're going to delve even a bit deeper into that aspect of why is funding now an issue, and many of us would remember the first 300 plus million that would have been given away, and now we are somewhere in the vicinity of over 500 million in contracts being extended and spirited away, in the words of the present Secretary of Infrastructure, to companies that are not designed to build Tobago's economy. And the very thing that the members of this administration would have spoken against in their campaign is the very thing, and even worse, they have meted out to Tobago as an island and to the citizens of this island. Number of unemployment is now a major issue, and as anyone knows who is informed, that once unemployment starts to become an issue, you have higher incidences of crime and criminal activity. Social issues are on the rise, and all these things are feeding into somewhat of what we are experiencing today. And so we are really calling on this administration to recognize that they failed the people of Tobago and to do the honorable thing. As yet, we are not even sure how to refer to them, what to call them. We know they went in as PDP, but that ship has sailed, and now we are even in kind of betwixt as to what is the identity of those who make up the administration. What we are clear on, however, is that this administration is anchored, and the ship is not sailing. Tobago has been anchored firmly in one spot. There's no progress, there's no advancement. So I can indeed agree with them that the anchor is in fact holding, because it has been holding Tobago back. Actually, the anchor's rope seems to be a bit short, because apart from holding Tobago back, it is also causing Tobago to be pulled down under the water. As Minority Councillor would have indicated and pointed out, we have been experiencing successive years of economic decline, and it is disingenuous, to say the least, of the Chief Secretary and this administration to not report with accuracy to the people of Tobago. So folks, we continue to provide you with clarity, we continue to provide you with facts, we continue to provide you with information, and this evening was no different, and I want to thank the Minority Councillor. A lot of work went into that presentation. It is also available to be packaged, and if you are interested in having that and the presentation of the Minority Leader package, whether you belong to an association, a village council, the chamber, as it may be, you can also make a request and have those presentations sent across to you so that you can continue perusing the information. It is there in the public domain for your benefit. So folks, I want to thank you for being with us this evening as we get ready to head out. We're going to close with our initiatives that are coming up. We see Senator Hislop's Back to School Drive, September 1st. Let's not forget the date. Write it down in your calendar. Put a reminder on your phones. Locations: Gems Car Park at Mason Hall, Tobago, and the Police Youth Club at Roxborough, Tobago. And it's free haircuts for those young men and young women who also want haircuts. Just scan the barcode and you can register your children for the event. Numbers to call. Let me just go back to the numbers to call for this event. 305-3215. You can WhatsApp that number only. 704-6016. You can call or WhatsApp that number. Get your child listed for this necessary event so that you can have them prepared. It's going to be on the Sunday at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Let's not miss the time. Last time we had some children being brought in pretty late, and there was a rush to get them to benefit. So let's get in early and let's have a smooth flow on this event. And moving forward to the Sports and Family Day, Darrell Spring Wim District Sports and Family Day, a Blossom Can Foundation in collaboration with the Darrell Spring WIM District Committee, and all collaborating with Assemblyman Kelvin Morris to have a grand affair and a grand event. A number of activities on the day as well, fun activities, all fours, sporting, cricket, football, netball. There's a fun zone there and novelty games. There are lots and lots and lots of prizes to be won. Yes, so come out. Vendors, there's still a small window of opportunity to have your business registered to vend on the day. You can call 232-7195. That's 232-7195 or 351-9544. 351-9544. And if you are a netball team, cricket team, football team, and you want to register your teams, those are also the numbers to call, and you can have yourself listed and be present on the day. Remember, folks, the event is a free event. You have no service charge. There's nothing to pay to enter. However, what we're asking you to do is to come to patronize the several vendors who normally benefit from this district event. And I'm saying several because you are going to definitely have the opportunity to choose. There's a great variety of eats and drinks and snacks for the children. There are toys for the children to be purchased, bubble machines and so on. I'm not sure this year, but I know there was also balloon art and these kind of. You just come out, just bring the entire family. It's a family day. It's a sports day. Bring out the entire family. Bring out your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, your co-workers. Every single individual can have something to do and benefit on the 1st of August, Emancipation Day, at Jubilee Park from 10 a.m. Let's all come out and enjoy the event. I'll ask the director for us to close off with the audio ad of this event to solidify in the minds of people.
Get ready for a day of fun and excitement. It's the Darrell. Get ready for a day of fun and excitement. It's the Darrell Spring WIM District Sports and Family Day, Emancipation Day, Jubilee Park, Sanctus Hills, Scarborough, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Come enjoy all fours, cricket, football, netball, fun zone, and novelty games. Lots of prizes to be won. So bring your friends, your family for a day filled with sports, games, and endless fun. Entry is absolutely free. For vending and team registration, call 232-7195 or 351-9544. Those numbers again, 232-7195 or 351-9544. Don't miss out on this amazing event. See you there. It's a Darrell Spring WIM District Sports and Family Day.